Condo prices have increased almost 77% across the HRM over the last 5 years. But is this trend likely to continue, or has the condo market finally hit the wall in Halifax? In today's video, I'm going to talk about the overall condo market in 2024. I'm going to compare some pricing in different neighborhoods. I'm going to talk about the price gap between single-family homes and the condo prices, and make sure you stick around until the end because I'm going to talk about why I think the condo market will continue to surge in the HRM. Now, just before I get into it, if you're new here, my name is Andrew Stephens. I've been a realtor in Halifax for 10 years, and if you want to be educated about the market, then you're in the right place. So hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to book a call with me, if you're thinking about making a move in Halifax, you can reach out anytime in the Calendly link below. And if you're coming from out of province, or if you're a local looking to learn more about our city, you can check out the Halifax Insider. It's another channel that I've started that talks all about things to do, places to visit, food, drink, and so on. So let's start off by talking about where we're at currently in 2024. So far this year, up to the end of October, all the stats I'm going to talk about today are up until the end of October. And if I'm talking about year over year, I pulled from January 1st to the end of October in that specific year, and I've rounded everything to the nearest $1,000. So far this year, the average price of a condo in HRM is $486,000, and this is up 0.7% from this time last year. Now, in comparing this to the single-family home market in HRM, the average single-family home costs $611,000 right now, and that is up 3.9% from the same time frame of last year. In terms of the number of sales across the HRM for condos, the sales are actually down year over year about 5%. And in comparing this to the single family market, home sales are up 11% across the HRM. And right now, in terms of condos, we have a listing inventory of about 2.8 months. So this is kind of approaching a balanced market. And comparing this to the single family home market, it's a little bit more on the buyer's market side at 2 months of listing inventory. So about 3/4 of a month's difference in terms of the inventory, which is not a huge difference, but it is definitely hotter on the single family home side than the condo side across the HRM as a general statement. Now, one thing to keep in mind is the gap in pricing between condos and single family homes. And this is going to come up later in this video as I give my opinion on where the condo market is going. But right now, the gap between the average condo price versus the average single family home price is sitting at $125,000. Now, for context, the gap between the price of single family homes and condos over the last 5 years has grown significantly. 5 years ago, it was $61,000 at this time of the year. So again, this has more than doubled up to this point 5 years later at $125,000, but we're going to circle back around to this statistic later on in this video, so make sure you stick around. Now, in terms of condo prices across the HRM, I'm going to look at some hot spots for condos and talk about the price points within those specific neighborhoods because it does vary neighborhood to neighborhood, especially when you're talking about the Halifax Peninsula versus some of the suburb markets that I'm going to look at right now. Currently on the Halifax Peninsula, the average condo price is just under $550,000, sitting at $548,000. In terms of the 4 markets I'm going to talk about right now, this is the most expensive, which will come as no surprise. Over in Dartmouth, across the bridge, the average condo price is $453,000. So again, a lot less, almost $100,000 less than the Halifax Peninsula. If I go over to Bedford, the average condo price is lower again at $427,000. There's a ton of condos in Bedford and a lot of cheaper condos as well, which is helping out this average, but there are still some very expensive condo buildings in Bedford, especially if you have views of the Bedford Basin. And if I look up to Clayton Park and Fairview, again, this is a pretty hot condo market, a lot of condos in these areas. The condo average price point right now in Clayton Park and Fairview is $431,000. Now, just like the single family home market, the condo pricing over the last 5 years in HRM has exploded, and a lot of that had to do with 2021 and 2022 pricing when we saw the huge uptick in the market during the pandemic. So over the last 5 years in the condo market, like I said, the price points have gone up on average 76.8%. So almost 77% in 5 years, like I mentioned in the intro. And this works out to an average per year of 12.6% growth, which is huge when you consider that the average home prices in HRM as a whole over the last 40 years average out at about 5% growth year over year. And to put this into context of the overall numbers, just 5 years ago, the average condo price in HRM was sitting at about $275,000. And again, like I mentioned earlier, right now the average in HRM is $486,000 for an average condo price. Now, if I zero into the Halifax Peninsula, as this is a huge piece of the condo market in the HRM, the current average condo price specifically for the Halifax Peninsula, like I mentioned earlier, is $548,000. Now, comparing this to a single family home on the Halifax Peninsula, the average single family home price is $873,000. So the gap between these two price points is $325,000. So on the Halifax Peninsula, this gap is much larger than the gap of $125,000 average across the HRM as a whole. Now, just 5 years ago, the gap between a single family home and condos on the peninsula was only $188,000. So that's increased by 73% in only 5 years. So what's going to happen to the condo market moving forward? That is a great question. It's one that I get a lot in terms of out there dealing with clients and potential inquiries. And truthfully, nobody has a crystal ball, but here is my take on where the condo market is going to go. When I look at the metrics and I look at the gap between the single family home prices and the condos and how much that's increasing over the years, the truth is I see that as sort of a problem. Now, years ago, let's say 5 years ago, for example, most people, especially young professionals looking to get into a home, wouldn't really be looking at condos in Halifax compared to single family homes because the single family home price wasn't a huge difference compared to the price of condos. But now, as that gap continues to increase, I think we're going to see an uptick in the overall condo market in Halifax. So let's look at Toronto as an example. Most first-time home buyers are not buying a single-family home in the GTA, especially not a detached home. Maybe they could squeeze into a semi or a townhouse, but even then, based on the price points and trying to get into the market for the first time, it's incredibly difficult to get into that market. So most buyers are buying a condo. And then maybe 5 years later, they're building some equity and they're selling that condo. And then maybe they're moving into a semi or a townhouse. And then from then, they're building equity again. And maybe 4 or 5 years later, they're moving up to that kind of a detached property. Now, obviously, this is not like a one size fits all. Everybody's different. But as a general statement, that would be kind of the progression that they're seeing in some of those bigger cities where the real estate is much more expensive than it is in Halifax. So I think going forward, we're going to see a lot of the same because as a general statement, young professionals, a lot of them are still going to want to live, on the Halifax Peninsula or close to it or close to the downtown core as they can get, but their budgets are probably not going to be enough to get into a home in the North End or the West End or downtown or wherever that might be. So I think that location is going to trump the space they would get in a home. And I think we're going to see more and more young professionals getting into the market by way of condos first and then upsizing down the road as they build some of that equity. That's one big reason why I think the condo market is going to be more lucrative here and why I think it's going to continue to trend in the upward direction. Although things have softened up quite a bit over the last 2 years since we saw the surge from the pandemic market. When I'm looking at the peninsula, another thing that is glaring to me is the lack of new construction condos going up. Most of the buildings going up are apartment buildings. For reference, the only ones I can think of in the last few years would be Navy Lane, would be North, would be Goresbrook back in about 2019 or so. So those were all done by the same developer as well. They do a great job. Navy Lane sold very, very quickly and they're already breaking ground there. They sold about 60% of the condos over the first month or so that they were listed is what I've heard and what I've been seeing online. So I do think that there is a demand for new condos on the peninsula. So I think anytime there's a new build announced, I think they will sell pretty quickly as long as the price points are in line with where where they should be. Overall, if you're looking to buy a condo, there are a lot of things to consider, and I have some other videos on my channel that you can check out. But I think going forward, a building that is well managed, that is well maintained, that has reasonable condo fees with little chance of special assessments going on their financial books, I think these condos in the right location will be very, very sought after, especially by young professionals looking to get into the marketplace if the price point allows them to do so. But only time will tell. I'm curious, if you're still here watching, you obviously have some vested interest in this topic. What do you think is going to happen to the condo prices over the next 5 years? I believe they're going to keep going up, same as the single family home prices. Maybe not as much as the single family home prices, but I think as the single family home prices continue to rise in an aggressive manner, I think this is going to help the condo market because it's going to become more and more desirable as the gap increases between condos and single family homes. Now, if you got any value out of this video, all I ask is that you hit that like button and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future content. And that'll help push this out to more people like you who may be interested in seeing videos about the Halifax and Nova Scotia real estate market. And until next time, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your support and have a great day.